Good evening.
It's not showing live on mine.
That's live on mine. And so, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Extreme Movie Show, where we talk about the most extreme movies of all time. And we just lost Rob. That's okay, though. He'll be back. Kind of crazy. Hey, there he is. Welcome back, sir.
Right. Well, we've had some storms here in Central Florida. Yes.
Yeah.
We're talking about Bullitt, ladies and gentlemen. Steve McQueen, RDV, you were talking about it. Go ahead, and then I'll interject.
I was just talking about, we're talking about Extreme Movie Show. Where we talk about what the movies that we find are entertaining and, as we say, extreme. This has extreme Steve McQueen as Bullitt, and as much as I want to say it's spelled Bullet, it's a weird name and a twist on the word Bullitt because it's his last name. So it's one of those like Mandela effects for me. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go watch Bullitt. Wait, that's how you spell it. Yeah. So especially I haven't seen it in 20 years. This is my third time watching it. Just a fun movie. You got the beautiful Jacqueline Bisset as his girlfriend in here too. Robert Duvall's in here, and you have Robert Vaughn, who is just a greasy politician who basically wants he doesn't care about anything that's going on. He just wants his witness, so he can make this grant, this public display, and get approval from all the public. But the guy's got his head so far up his ass, he doesn't realize he's got the wrong witness. It's supposed to be this guy. I think his last name's Roy or Frank Roy or something like that. And he was supposed to be witness from mob. He came up from Chicago. Turns out the guy wasn't the real guy. The guy paid somebody else to take his place. And he hires two goons, basically the whack him and to make it look like he died, so that way he could flee the country. And like I said, it's just a fun movie. Really, Steve McQueen is just fantastic in this. I like, and I know people always say like, oh, I love like The Great Escape. I thought The Great Escape was one of the worst movies for Steve McQueen personally. It's just it didn't really capture what he does here, like in this movie and The Getaway. And a few others. I said, I just love it. And of course, we got the Mach 1, the Ford Mustang. They tried to basically like, hey, this is a vehicle. It's a movie. We're gonna try and use this to try and sell the Ford, but it was a Ford Mustang versus a Dodge Charger, and the Charger, as we know it, outsold it. Not only in performance and style, and it's just an overall better car.
Yeah, I got to tell you, for me, I've seen this movie a couple times. It's been a long time, so I watched it again this morning. A couple of things I wanted to touch upon that you brought up. I'm going to talk a little bit more about McQueen than the movie. As far as the movie goes, I'll sit there and say I think it's a good movie with some great stuff in it. I can totally understand the argument. Some people might say it's too long, it's too dull, it's too boring. When we talk more about specific scenes, I'll mention some of that stuff. The thing about McQueen is he's one of these charisma kind of actors like a Bogart or there's not that many of them, I would argue, today, like a Denzel, that you'll just go see him in there. I'm not saying these guys can't act, but you watch them because of who they are. And I think that even though I'm a fan of the original Thomas Crown Affair as opposed to the reboot, and I go back and forth on how good, bad those things can be, this one, Steve McQueen, is probably the best version you're going to get. The Great Escape, he's got a great group of people in there. He's got Donald Pleasance and a bunch of others. But McQueen, he's one of those guys that you go, you know what, I love you. Great actor. What you do is great. We're going to make this movie revolve around you, which this movie smartly does, with almost no talking. Oh. The best parts of this movie, kind of talking about both things here, is watching him just walk, move and stuff, because he's a physical guy. I appreciate watching that. I like the way he dresses. There's a certain air of coolness, masculinity people talk about. Half the time he's high, and that's probably why, and that's okay. But he was one of those bad guys that wasn't, yelling and screaming and all that. He was chill, like, I've got my shit under control. Yeah. And I think nowhere does this more come into play when you're watching this movie than some, especially early on. Some of those scenes with the guy that's criminally underrated, we don't really talk about it, as a heavy, and that's Robert Vaughn as the politician kind of guy. Because Robert Vaughn's got that serious, non-blinking look, and he's talking, and he's very smart going. And, just like McQueen says to his boss there like that, well, is he running the case or am I? And he's not yelling. He's like, is he running the case or am I? It's not like he's triggered. He's like, no, you can't trigger him, but you can see it behind his eyes. And that's the whole thing about McQueen. And I got to come right out and say this about the cars, even though they're both great cars. And I loved the car chase. We talked about this on Driver last week, because the guy that helped film this, directing that movie, I'm wondering if this is one of those kind of movies that, even though I've got the super ultra 55-inch UHD TV like everybody else does, I'm wondering if this would have looked better on the big screen because of the way they filmed it. What do you think?
Honestly, it depends if you're watching it. I watched it on a 27-inch monitor, and I enjoyed it. You can have a big theater with a bigger screen, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be a better experience. Because sometimes a movie is only as good as they make it. You can put it on a big screen, and it doesn't change the quality of the film storytelling. If you're not digging the movie, you can shine up a turd. It's still a turd.
I agree with you. I was
Yeah,
talking more
yeah.
about just the actual
But
like 10,
but
11, 12
overall,
minute car chase scene.
so the car chase scene, I was engrossed into it because literally I have my monitor is like like 3 feet. It's like 4 feet in front of my face, and I watch it. I watch it on my PC, and I just have fun with it. I got my surround sound on, everything, headphones, and it's just great. Yeah, but overall, some people can argue like, well, yeah, there's nothing like watching a movie in the theater with a bunch of people who make noise and chew and smack their gums, and yeah, no thanks. If you like that, it's one thing, but we now have achieved since the late 90s the home theater thing.
Yes.
And we have 4K resolution TVs. We have the big giant speakers you can buy. You can get the giant ohm speakers, and the Bose and all stuff. So you really don't need to go see in the theater unless you're like, okay, unless you're one of those people that loves like the IMAX. The IMAX would be the exception because that's the biggest screen there is. And for me, if you're going to watch something on the IMAX, it's got to be something that's meant for like being like stuff like Star Wars, because it's all or planes or stuff, or something like that. Something it's actually got, because IMAX is a special thing, and I don't think this movie needs to be on the IMAX or to be in the theaters at this point. But you can argue that it might be better, but not necessarily though. Like I said, I love the car chase and hear stuff. Seeing it on the big screen, I'd probably feel the same as I watching it at home. It doesn't really change the quality for me. I said the sound, they capture everything. The sound quality in here is HD crisp, especially on. I watched it on Tubi. That's where I watch this.
Mm-hmm.
I have it on Blu-ray as well too. But overall, like I said, this movie was just the tone of it. It's basically it's a cop drama in a sense, with a little bit of a crime thriller. Norman Fell, Mr. Roper,
yes,
is the captain of the police in here, who's trying to where he's working with Robert Vaughn, say just trying to edge him along. He's basically kissing Robert Vaughn's ass the whole entire movie.
He is.
Yeah, and then you have Bullitt's captain, Simon Oakland. He was really great. There's another really great actor here too, who basically is kind of like he respects him, but he also is also, hey, I'm your friend, but I'm your boss for the most. So I'll do what I can. But he says because when the witness ends up being we'll explain what happened. Basically, Johnny what's his name, Johnny Ross, ends up basically getting gunned down in their little apartment they're at, the little hotel room, and
the
safe house. And it's weird because, as I said, these two guys come in, they at around 2:00 in the morning, saying, "Hey, we're so Robert Vaughn's character, and so no, can we come up?" And so he calls,
does the right thing.
Yeah, does Steve McQueen, who's at home. He's like, "Hey, this doesn't sound right. Now, what should you do?" He's like, "Stay there. I'll be there in 5 minutes." But before we can get there, the guys, Ross ends up going over to the actual what do you call it? Room where he goes to the door, unlatches the door, the chain, allows lets them in. You're like, what the heck? But these guys come in with a shotgun.
This is well filmed here. How it happens.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I kept thinking, remember we were watching with George Kennedy in Charade, how he's a big imposing guy trying to knock people off.
Yeah, Kenny's wasn't a joke. Vaughn, and the hitman here is, I don't know who he is. I didn't really look him up. No. But he's just a quiet guy that doesn't talk. But they're very professionals. They move in, do what they gotta do, leave, boom, done.
Right. I think it's Paul Genge is the hitman who plays Mike the Hitman. I don't remember them calling him by name, but he's known for Bullitt, Twilight Zone. He was in there for an episode. The Crowded Sky movie, Hot Rods to Hell. Yeah, Green Berets, Wild Wild West. He did a lot. Mission Impossible. He was freaking, he was on Burke's Law, Bonanza. So he's just a regular character actor in the TV show. Wasn't a really big actor, but the guy was pretty much imposing in there. He's 5'10", kind of balding, grayish hair. He's got a shotgun, pump action. Shoots the one rookie cop in the leg because they're taking shifts.
Mm-hmm.
The second guy, I think it was a Duvall or Delridge, I think his name was supposed to be in this. The Getty was supposed to be second, and he had the other guy go first.
Yeah.
And then McQueen is supposed to take the third shift. But because this happened, they shoot the cop in the leg with a shotgun, and then they go to shoot Ross. And it's funny, they shoot Ross, but in it hit him in the shoulder, or right here, the chest part. Okay. So he's like, they rush him to the hospital. Next thing you know, half his face is all destroyed. I'm like, no, what? They're saying that the debris, the pelts went into his face. There was no blood on his face.
Yeah.
So I was like, guys, make up your mind how bad the damage is. Don't just say, it's worse than we thought it was. It's like,
it's interesting you're deciding to talk about it, because I kind of thought I noticed that a little bit. Hey, he only got clipped or whatever, and
kind of glazed over it. Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to spread power and shotgun at point blank, but you figure to be bigger, right? But here's the thing. One of the interesting things about the late 60s going into the 70s, and one of the things we do talk about here in Extreme Movie Shows, some of the patterns. And one of my personal favorite TV shows was The Wild Wild West. And was considered an extremely violent show, even though Robert Conrad did a lot of his own stunts, most of them, if not all. And, but like a lot of, fisticuffs, people going through windows, punches, that kind of stuff. And this was getting to a point where this was kind of exploding on TV and movies. And so to me, I don't know if they tried dressing down the violence a little bit here, because in the first 5 minutes, we see the hit squad come in, the guy, get wrecked, and you're like, okay, this is a really cool setup. So we have a mystery element, and then we have Steve McQueen drawn into it. And what I like about his character in here is that it plays to his strengths, not talking a lot, but being in charge. We don't necessarily I'm not saying we don't like or we dislike or we hate or they're integral characters, but we see each of the people he's working with on a small team trying to keep this guy alive for basically the weekend. We know what the situation is. We see how it goes bad. He volunteers to take the third shift, being like a leader, gets in there. Then they spend a lot of time in the actual hospital. And you know what? It's weird, because as a first act, this didn't almost feel like it. Felt like we're in the second to third, because they have the African-American doctor who he's talking to and getting updates. The script is very simple, understanding what's going on. Then Robert Vaughn comes in, and you almost make it seem like, did they write that to make it sound racial, taking him off of it? I thought, no, even though it seemed that way, it was basically so they could get the hit guy to come in, which is what they do. So this is like a nice little cop thing for the first half of the movie.
Robert Vaughn talking down to we didn't talk to the surgeon, because first he was mad because the guy his witness was in the hospital fighting for his life. So he was talking shit to Bullitt, to McQueen, and then after that he goes into the room. He's like, and he says, the guy who runs the hospital, the Bain hench or whatever. And he's like, I want my own surgeon. We have a better surgeon coming here. I don't know, replace. We want this guy replaced. And you can see that the black guy is like, what the fuck, It's like, really, and you almost expect Bullitt to look at him and say something, but he doesn't though. But yeah. But you almost get your first impression, because especially today, we're so used to race bait and all this stuff, everything being there, people being offended. It nothing to do with race. Is the fact that Robert Vaughn comes from royalty, or kind of like the upper class.
Exactly. He's got the resources.
We see in the very beginning of the movie when all three cops have to go over to his mansion.
Yes.
In California. Remember that takes place in San Francisco, California.
Yes.
He's got a nice pad, everything in there. The one lady was in comment, oh my God, you should have seen me. I did my own gardening with my own hands, my own two hands. Their hands were all dirty.
Wine country. Sonoma.
Oh my God. I was just like, gag me with a spoon. These people are like, it's just like, yeah, these are the people who think they're that they're all that because they're wealthy and stuff. They're the basically upper class, twits. But getting back to the thing is that, so basically the guy does come in, the killer comes in, the bald guy, or the guy with the shotgun. We'll call him Shoddy, Shoddy McShotgun. Anyway, he's gonna come in and he talks to an orderly. He's like, "Hey, my friend, this came in. He got a. I'm trying to look at my friend. He's got a gunshot wound. Just came in. And it's like, And so the guy, after the guy gives directions, like, yeah, second floor. He calls up there to basically the Queen and tells her, "Hey, I don't thought you know this kind of sus a little bit, but this guy, he's like, cool, thanks." He tells Gotti, you go check. You basically go down to the ground floor. He can't leave it. He can't get past you that way." And he says, and he tells the cops, "Stay in the room with with Ross." And then he basically he comes out with and he walks around and before he can do anything, we see the guy, the killer, taking from his pants. So his pants leg up. He's he got electrical tape. He's got a shiv. He made.
Looks like ice pick.
Dude, it looked like a screwdriver. He just filed down. That's what it looks like.
It did. Yeah.
I have a wooden one like that. That's how I was like, I have that. I'm like the Leo thing. Yeah, I got that. I literally did the Leo meme. I'm like, I got that thing. Got two of them. And so the nurse walks in him when he's in the stairwell, and she freaks out. So he quick runs down the stairwell, and we get this little on foot chase between him and McQueen. McQueen's going down there, and these guys hiding, and then the guy manages to get past McQueen, go back out the door, and he basically went to the store and barricaded so McQueen got out. McQueen had to bust the window, and then move the broom handle from the door, and the guy was gone. So after this, McQueen goes back in. We learn that Ross dies. So, but he wants to catch these killers. It was just so great. He's like, "Hey, and is there any way you talk to the doctor, the one that got snubbed by Vaughn?" He's like, "Any way we can misplace a body?" He's like, I want to move him again. He's like, "Well, I can misplace a chart." Like, that's perfect. Don't worry, I'll take the rap for this. So that's what they do. They put him into the Ecto 1. literally, it's the ambulance from Ghostbusters. And they take him to the morgue, and then they misplace the chart. So then when Vaughn comes, when Vaughn comes with his team, is like, "Where's the body? Where is he?" Oh, yeah. And so I love when McQueen gets called in, and he's like, basically, I look at when I look at Simon Oakland, I kept thinking like, is this Vincenzo? Because I kept thinking from Kolchak. I'm like, this guy looks exactly like Vincenzo. Like he could be like a cousin or brother.
Very reminiscent, too, of the head police chief in Forever Night.
But he was in Kojak. He was also in the Hardy Boys and It's Drew Mysteries. He was in Charlie's Angels. He was on the Rockford Files, Maverick. He was on a lot of things. That said, you look at Highway Hawaii 5-0. It said for 20 out. And then, actually, you know what? I'm correct. Kolchak, the Night Stalker TV series. This is Vincenzo. Simon Oakland. I forgot about that. Yeah. So I thought they looked familiar. So that even made it better for me because I was watching it, I thought it was him. I wasn't sure. So basically, yeah, he calls him in the office. Hey, where's the body? He's like, well, he died, but he only tells that to his boss. He doesn't tell anybody else. He's like, he's like, "Hey, give me the Monday to work this case," because he's like, "Well, yeah, get the Monday before I got to write you up because all this stuff." He's like, "Put you on leave, whatever, And so this allows him, Bullitt, to investigate these guys with him and Delgatti investigate. And then they kind of realize like, wait, they're going around. They go to the taxi driver played by Robert Duvall. That's kind of funny. I
liked Robert Duvall in here. You realize this guy's been around a long time. You see him early on in his career. That was kind of cool. I popped for that a little bit.
Well, yeah, he was in the first Rooster Cogburn and all that stuff. I think it was. I think it was in the original that one. True Grit. He was in the first True Grit. And anyway, so they figure out that that this guy it called like this woman, his girlfriend. I was like, okay, cool. So they go to the apartment, and then you see a guy walking out, because and of course because Bullitt couldn't take his car there, so he got snubbed. But before this, I realized we skipped on the car chase. The car chase was awesome. We got that too, and the two killers end up crashing, going through like a little field off camera, and then their Charger flips open, and the whole entire gas area
conveniently explodes.
So they died.
Fireball.
But they follow. But him and Delgatti end up following this lead, about talking to the taxi driver, taxi company, and they said, notice the guy stopped at a payphone. He's like a long distance. How do you know? He used a lot of change. I kind of love the attitude.
But you're bringing that up about Duvall, mentioning that to him. Here's the thing about the way. Here's some of the stuff that if you watch it, say when you're young, you might see things. You might be, oh, Jacqueline Bisset's beautiful. Completely not needed for the film, right? You might watch that car chase and go, oh, this sucks by today's standards. No, it's still great. Then here's the thing with Robert Duvall, the thing I mentioned earlier about McQueen and this team, him looking out for him taking the worst shift and all that, being there for him. The fact that he treats the guy, Robert Duvall, fine. He's not pandering to him. He's like, hey, wait here, I won't be long. He does the snap. Duvall knows this guy's the real deal. And so he doesn't have to volunteer information, but he chooses to. And so I thought that was interesting because of the character of Bullitt. We're like, okay, he is definitely the good guy. Here's somebody that just for whatever reason decides to help him out when he may not have to. Obviously he's following the clue and all that, but I just thought those little types of human interactions, the way it was written in the script, are things that you do not see today in film generally. It's all dialogue about messaging and all that rather than how people normally treat each other. You treat somebody well, usually they might give you some information that's valuable or something, whether they're aware of it or not.
The other thing I thought was kind of cool in this too is like you're talking about interaction between Bullitt and other. He talks to the defense lawyer. He talks to what's his name, Eddie, and just played by Justin Tarr. Justin Tarr is from he was Private Tully Pettigrew in Massacre Harbor back in 1968, and then he was in the Rat Patrol series for a while. He was Private Tully Pettigrew, same thing, same character, from 68 to 50, or the 66 to 68 for 2 seasons, 54 episodes. He was on there. So he wasn't like a nobody character. He actually was, on a show and stuff. He did an episode on Hawaii 502 as well. So like I said, like you had some other characters in there, and like I said, it was kind of like, hey, because first I was like, is he talking to a gangster? He's like, hey, and he's like, one of my guys got pinned, for discovery, but it wasn't his stuff, he's doing like 2 or 3 years, like, oh, hey, cool, you do that if you can help me out about I want to know who this guy is, because they found out like in the suitcase and stuff, because when basically went to go taxi up, they went to go the address upstate for where this girlfriend supposedly lives, in the apartment, and so because as a final snub to him, Norman Fell and Robert Vaughn's like, sorry, there's no more squad cars, we're taking the last one.
Yep.
So he had to get a ride from his girlfriend, the beautiful Jacqueline Bisset here, who is just, oh my gosh, the girl next door.
Let's pause there for a second and kind of talk not necessarily about her, but the fact what you're talking about her and how beautiful she is. One of the things about this film is I really enjoy just watching everything in the background because there's really like no set pieces. Everything's filmed there on location for the most part.
It's
the
like
driving around
movies.
the background, the people and the way they're dressed. The guys have suits, they're clean cut. The women look all natural and everything too. It just look like, wow.
Sunday, they're wearing their Sunday bests. Everyone is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even from the very beginning, when they're like, I wonder who that. It must have been a cop that got shot, or like from the very beginning when the Ross supposedly gets bumped off, almost like the crowd outside of there, and then we get that same crowd again, same kind of like people at the airport at the end. I said so it's like it's kind of interesting they did that because people gossip, people hold around. What do? We see an accident, we slow down. Yeah. Everybody's a gonker, and then eventually people are like, okay, let's go, guys. And like, ladies, you don't want to see that and stuff. But bring up Jacqueline Bisset real quickly. Not only is she beautiful here, she is. I thought it's kind of interesting because she knows he's a cop, and she doesn't really know his life. She has her own thing. She likes going. She does art stuff or whatever she does. I forget what she was. She an artist or something. I can't remember what she was doing. Her role was in this,
She's there to make McQueen look like he's got a soft side to him.
Yeah.
Not needed.
Yeah. So anyway, so she was there, and so when she gives him a ride to this place, and they find out that that the girl had been strangled, murdered, and she hears a squad coming in, so she quick runs, follows the cops into the room, and sees the woman there dead. And she looks over. She sees him on the phone talking to Zon. And looks over, and then she kind of like throws kind of like this. And I don't want to be sexist, but kind of like Hollywood does this, where the woman has a history of it. How can you be so cold to this? I've never seen. Are you that emotionless? This does not phase you.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of like gives him an almost ultimatum. It's like, what does it say for a future? It's like it's like well, time starts now, hun. Now that you've seen these, you pull aside. It's like either you want to be with me or in few words or less. Either you're with me,
and that's where McQueen
yeah.
just excels. That the average
Yeah.
human male like you and I would have a
with this turtleneck.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean the turtleneck, everything. Yeah. I mean, you could go and look at what he's wearing. Well, but here's the thing. There's dressing where it's flashy, like I've said this before, and you see it. And then there's dressing for your skin tone, your shape, and all that, and of course fit and all that. And it matters because if you're watching somebody's face, then you're dressed correctly because how well they're put together is unique to each in person. So you go look at some of these dweebs that don't really have an attractive face or whatever, or middle-aged older guys that are fat and bald.
Everyone,
look how they're dressed in the color scheme of how
everyone in this movie, other than McQueen, had a suit and tie on.
Yes.
It was on purpose.
Absolutely. And McQueen is one of those guys. He was always a fashionista himself too, seriously. And he's had very classic styles that he
had the gray pants, the gray slacks, the dress pants on. He had the goggles on. He liked to do racing stuff. The way he's dressing here is literally like his wardrobe from home. It's like he didn't really change much.
I honestly would not be surprised because you mentioned him being fit earlier. He was a part of that group where he started having what I would call tough guys and bad men, not the ones that the generation before were like from the farms and westerns and all that stuff. So he's part of that Clint Eastwood group. He's part of that.
This led to the Dirty Harry movies.
Exactly. All that opened up the door for these types of macho sort of men, except for he just played it cool rather than like Dirty Harry went the opposite. He got in your face, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of played it cool, quiet stuff, and he where Harry basically lost his temper and just didn't give a shit. He just told you off. It's like it embarrassed you. Where McQueen kind of like just bit a lip, and then it didn't say much, and then just solved the case without even and still embarrassed Vaughn in this too, because he's like, yeah, you got the wrong guy, idiot, pretty much, because they end up So basically, after she walks in, we see the real Ross walking out. And at first I'm like, and I was at first I'm like, is that the same guy who just died in the hospital? Because it kind of looked similar, And then when they focus more on his face, and it's like you tell, it's different. So this guy under the name Albert Rennick, or Anthony Rennick, whatever he's going to say, was going to go away with this woman. They're either going to go to Rome or Italy or somewhere over in Europe. They had other stuff, but they had no passport stuff. And turns out that the real Ross had hired the fake Ross and the guy, the guy's girlfriend, basically take the fall for him. So he didn't want her talking. That's why he hired the hitman to kill Ross, make fake his own death, and then he choked the other girl, the girlfriend, so that she couldn't say anything either. And then he was gonna go. Go to London, or originally Rome, and then he had his passport and stuff. He was gonna go there, so they end up McQueen and Delgatti go to the airport, and they're looking around looking for him, and they're being kind of undercover, they're calm. They're not letting them know that hey, batch here. Let me check the list, names going through, and then they realize it's 5 minutes 2 to 7. They're like, where is he? Oh, they're like, then so he takes the phone. By any chance, you have this, Albert, whatever, on another flight going to London? He's like, yeah, last minute check-in. So they quickly go run over there, have him deboard the plane, and as they're going down, he knows he hasn't come off yet. So McQueen gets impatient, walks onto the plane, and he stops him. And the guy looks at him, and he bolts it out the door, jumps down, somehow not breaking his leg. And this is where we get that really risky scene. That's not a stuntman. It's McQueen chasing the guy on the tarmac, running under planes, real planes moving, and somehow not getting sucked into the engine or going deaf, because there's a scene, and I gotta say, we had Heat, we had Righteous Kill. What's with the chases into the field and people shooting each other on airports? It just seems like this might be the prototype for that. But he runs on there, and the guy tries shooting at him. He misses McQueen, it jumps to the ground. Then the guy runs up on the plane while they're taking off, and McQueen chases after him. McQueen goes onto there. Another plane comes. He has to lay down and cover his ears. I'm like, dude, you're deaf. I don't know how he was at this movie was not hurt at all, because unless he had earplugs in. That's the only I can think of when they're running around. They had earplugs in, and then he did that too. But yeah, so then he ends up chasing the guy into the airport lounge in there, and he has to be quiet, and then his partner runs in there and with the security guard, and he's like, and he kind of Queen purposely hides his face that because he doesn't want the guy, the real Ross, to know that he's in there, so he kind of ducks a little bit. But then when the guy goes to because they have like the in and outdoors, you know, like you go to a grocery store, the automatic doors open. He was gonna go out the wrong one, the one that comes in. So the doors wouldn't open for him. So and a cop sees him. He panics, shoots a cop, and then he tries to run to the door there, but he can't because the cop's body slumped up against the door and it won't open up anymore. And he turns around, and then Bullitt fires 6 bullets into him, just chest kills him. And we get to see that sweet fake blood again. Yeah, the bright paintball. And the only thing I can think of is that Robert Vaughn's like, son of a bitch, you killed my guy. And but at this point, he was already humiliated anyway, because he tried to, when they were originally gonna waiting for the plane to come back, Robert Vaughn comes up to him, he's like, hey, it's like, you know, I can be really great for your career. He's like, shut the fuck up, pretty much. Like, told me go. I was like, I don't like you. I don't need you. You know, it's like you're basically, if it had been like a Dirty Harry movie, Harry would have told him, you're what's wrong with this country.
Yeah, he would have lectured him.
He would have, like, you know, it's like, and he would have gotten in his face, like, you know what? I fucking hate your guts. And like, you know, he's like, and just got in his face. Where McQueen kind of was angry, but he was like a passive aggressive.
Exactly. It's a fuck you. Look at the twinkle in my eye.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Which can be delicious in its own regard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for this movie, you know, being 2 hours long, it moves at a certain pace. I think that would bother a lot of people today. I didn't have a problem with it being about 2 hours long.
No.
I liked how the first, second, and third act were kind of a little bit different than how you normally get. We got a great setup.
Right.
We saw our characters. We're introduced to all of them. Then we get a little bit of a twist there with the fake replacement. We get the action scene out of the way rather than building to it in a third one. In a way, we kind of a different one, which I like. I can't help but wonder if people go, hey, Steve McQueen in this movie. Look, if you take it by itself, we can say, you know, it's great, or some people would say it's, you know, like I said before, a good movie with great things in it. I think this movie becomes more important for what it represents going forward. Fashion, fast cars, being a cool male dude like Steve McQueen.
Supporting women.
So, well,
because here, listen.
Weak. I'm just being honest. I'm disappointed in that.
I want to say she thought about it after, you know, because he left, and he didn't know if she was going to be there at the end. And he goes home, she's in his bed, you know. So basically, so she basically realized love is worth it. They're in love. You know, and
he's not going to put up with my shit. He passed the test. I mean, that's really what it was.
Well, not just that. It's just that she realized that she was being ridiculous. Probably had a self-reflecting moment and realized, you know, I'm like, suddenly I'm going to give up everything. Is because I realized this guy deals with this shit. You know, so somebody has to.
Yeah, he's able to love me and not bring it home. Why should I be pissed? That's kind of the way I wish they would have presented it a bit better.
Unlike Heat. With Al Pacino.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
It's like, shut up. So as far as Tuesday go, I mentioned to you possibly doing 48 hours.
Yeah, that's a Walter Hill film, which he writes Manly Men and strong stuff.
I think we've done this before, but I think we did another 48 hours. I think can't remember, but I love this movie. I just love this the pairing of Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte together. Just awesome movie. I figure why not continue the Walter Hill stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because Walter Hill makes a certain kind of film. He did Southern Comfort, I think, right a year before, which I think is a great film with Powers Booth, who popped off the screen to me at the time. We've done some of these movies, 4 or 5 years ago when we first started the channel. We're just doing some 80s things, but just kind of finishing up here. I think Bullitt's one of those films you can not love it, and I would understand your thinking of it, but I think if you don't understand its importance for what it means as far as like Tom Cruise running, cars, chases, all that stuff. Again,
I mean,
it's really important in that regard. So I think just in terms of what it means as a film later on, sometimes
It's
that happens. You just don't know it's that way. Same thing with
it's
Casablanca,
it's the classic trope that we love. We love the cop, the renegade cop, and he's told by his boss, "I don't care how you do it, get the guy."
Yeah, yeah.
And he's got like a time limit, so he's got like 3 days.
Right. I trust you. Get it done.
Get done. You know.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what I miss is that we have all this. Oh well, we all hate cops now, the narrative. But back then, like, no, we could get behind a cop because who was basically trying to correct the system from within, you know, and it's a corrupt system, you know, like the one good cop, you know, he's like, you know, and he's like sticking it to the dirty politicians, and just getting what's done needs to be done. That's why a lot of people like Batman. Batman works outside the law because of the fact the law is broken, you know.
Yeah, but that's. I think this movie does a great job, like the early Dirty Harry stuff. And I'm not talking feminism here, where they present some of that stuff in with the DI stuff, like when they hire his partner that we've talked about, and you know, the Cagney Lacey woman, she was great.
Well, yeah, it was like, wasn't that 3?
I think it was the second one, with the sniper or whatever. But I love how the late '60s, the man is not, you know, a capitalist scumbag or big business.
There wasn't in this though. It wasn't like it wasn't. There's only it wasn't
exactly. It's so simple. You just know what the sides are, and you know what side you're rooting for.
And that's kind of why, kind of like Bosch in the same thing. In sense, if you watch TV series, he kind of how Lance Reddick's character is like kind of like he doesn't like the fact that Bosch is doing stuff, not do by the book, but you know it can't be mad he's getting results, but but at the same time, just like the captain here, Norman Fell was like, hey, I'll kiss app to this guy because maybe he's gonna run for governor and he'll help me, you know, so it's like,
somewhere along the way in the '60s, going into the '70s, men turned from being an adult male, meaning you know an appropriate level of emotional reaction, not letting it trigger you like you see with McQueen, to just going batshit, apeshit crazy, and it really kind of degraded going like into the '80s. So it's interesting because again, as a physical actor, you watch him move and his confidence and all that. That's why you're watching him in this film. You don't really care about his characters and what he represents.
Other three movies we have not done yet either has been The Getaway, which is another great car chase scene.
Yep.
We have the Thomas Crown Affair with Faye Dunaway.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen and Papillon.
Papillon. Means butterfly.
Papa John's.
Papillon. I'll just say this about Papillon. I think psychologically it's an extremely powerful film. So sometimes you get a film that just like hits you in your soul. And I think it's one of those films for me. Probably isn't for most people, but that's a whole different discussion. That I'm not sure if it's a movie that you would like. But I think it's tremendous.
Like I said, I want to get more movies on here with car chases. I gotta build this playlist, bro.
A car chase playlist.
Exactly.
Well, that's a good start. It's a nice entry into it. And you know what? You cannot cover car chase things without Bullitt. I mean, we can talk about how there's some stuff. So this really is it, right? We want chases on our martial arts films. Where do you think that stuff came from?
My short list is 48 Hours, The Getaway, or 3 Days of the Condor. Let's do that again.
No, too recent.
too recent. We did that last year. Who cares?
Too recent. Yeah, the ink is still wet on that one when we printed it.
Are you saying you don't want to watch a movie with your favorite actor, with Robert Redford?
He's not my favorite actor, sir.
You don't like Robert Redford now?
I didn't say that. If you're not listening to me, you're sounding like a woman right now.
and you're deflecting like a man.
Well, here's the thing. Put Robert Redford in this movie. Is it a success? No.
Robert Redford?
He doesn't carry the movie the way McQueen does. It's a different type of energy.
Robert, it's totally different. Yeah, it's a totally different type. Yeah, it's a totally different type of movie.
That's what I'm saying. So
Robert Redford is good for like roles like being like the fugitive kind of like stuff. Roles he's more like a Harrison Ford actor, I'd say.
He's the northeastern liberal you just can't hate because he's just a nice guy. Big classical, old school liberal. I mean, that's really what he is.
Yeah.
He doesn't offend you when he started doing stuff in the 80s and 90s when he got older and started directing and all that. He makes good films. He does his own stuff. He's not an in-your-face, asshole about anything. I've always respected the fact that, like, the one movie with James Gandolfini, where The Last Castle, wherever it is, where he's in prison or something like that. Tremendous movie. It made me really respect Robert Redford. Go, man, this guy really is good. Just like Paul Newman, The Color of Money is tremendous. I mean, they all have a different kind of energy with it. And that's the one thing about these older groups like McQueen and movies like this is whether you like them or not, or think they're slow or whatever by today's standards, it still holds up, still has a lot of credibility in the movie business as far as what it was the basis for everything to do. I mean, and I like it. I think it's tremendous. It's definitely on everybody's short list. I think if you're going to watch films, you got to see Bullitt at some point.
There's a lot of movies we can watch. I mean, The Getaway. You can also watch The Getaway remake in the 90s. Then there's Dead on Arrival, DOA.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't done that yet. But Des Rose is bringing up The Getaway is filmed in El Paso, where I lived for a while, and right across the border from where Steve McQueen died. Hilarious.
I was at a bar in El Paso, and a handsome young stranger walked in, and I got upset because he was talking to the chick that was dancing for me, and we got an argument, and I shot him. So then I, jumped on my horse and I ran across, but then I started missing a lady, and I'm waiting for somebody to type Marty Robbins, lady. Damn it.
I get it, man. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
Final thoughts, sir?
Final thoughts is that if there's a movie you need to watch with Steve McQueen, Bullitt is it. Getaway is a close second for me, but Steve McQueen will always be Bullitt for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if there's
and also Ford sucks, go Dodge.
I'll take either at this point. I'm crying when I see cars in movies like this today, and I look outside today, and there's no color. There's no
every time I watch this movie, I'm thinking, oh, look at the puny little Mustang and only do a single burnout.
But the sound when they're revving it.
Yeah.
That gets my blood.
See, they actually had the Ford Mustang on a trailer, and they pumped in the audio. They make it sound like it was actually running Ford.
Okay, we know you don't like Ford. Fix or repair daily. Good night, everybody. Tuesday night, 48 hours. See it, and then we'll talk about it. Good night now.
We'll be back in 48 hours.
Yeah, 48 hours.
Okay,
that was good.
Yep. So you guys know the drill. Go down below, leave a comment in the comment section what you thought of this movie. What do you like better? Do you like the Ford or do you like the Dodge Charger? And we'll see you guys on Tuesday at
next, yes.
Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern. Or no, 8 p.m. Eastern.
8 p.m. Eastern. Yes, correct, sir.
All right, later, guys. Remember, as always, keep your stick on the ice.